Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Johnson back again. And I brought Paul's letter to the Ephesians again, too, because we have a new part today. Let's think about what we've learned so far in Ephesians. Number one, God chose us to be adopted as his children, right? He chose us. He wanted us to be in his family. But we all had a problem. We were all dead on the inside because of the wrong things we've done. So number two, God made us alive with Christ. He made us alive with Jesus. Remember, Jesus died on the cross for us, and then he rose again. And if we ask him to, he takes away our dirty sin spots. And after he does that, then we're alive again on the inside. Oh, so much better. And also, number three, I'm not the only one that happened to. And you're not the only ones. Lots of people have decided to love Jesus. And God is building us together into his church. Remember, the church is the people, not the building. The building has a roof, and it has walls, and it has a bottom on it. But the church doesn't do things for people. The building doesn't. It's the people inside. So Paul says in his letter that we're being built together as a church to show God's love to all the world. That's our big job. But how do we do that? How does it look when we're all trying to do things Jesus' way? Let's open up his letter to the new section and see if Paul has some good ideas for us to practice. So take the string off and we'll open it up. So we're built into the church. It's still happening. We're not finished yet. It's still happening. So here we are. Paul writes, "So please behave like people who are in God's family. Don't think you always have to have things your way." That's not very nice, is it? "Be gentle and patient." That's a good thing. "Since you love each other, be kind when other people make mistakes." Oh, that's very special. Nobody likes to get yelled at or have somebody be angry at them just because we made a mistake. "Try to be calm and peaceful together." That sounds good too. "Remember, we all love the same Jesus, and we all have the same God for our Father. So do the special jobs that God gave us, so that as we love and serve each other in our different ways, we will help each other to learn more about Jesus and to love each other more." Well, that sounds good too. As we do that together, as we learn more about Jesus and as we love each other more, as we do that together, we'll become more grown up on the inside. So we won't be fooled by people who try to teach us to do the wrong things. Wow. There are people who try to teach us wrong? Yes, there are, boys and girls. Let's keep going. Instead, so we won't be fooled by those people. Instead, we will grow up together to do things more like Jesus would do them. Oh, that's a much better thing. So that's our new part of our letter. And Paul said, do the special jobs that God gave us. Remember, in some of the other lessons, I've shown you pictures of people who are serving our church. They're serving other people. They're helping them. They're loving them. They're caring for them. I have some more pictures today, 2 of stories of Bible people, and then some pictures of people in our church today that you might know. So come with me to the pictures. Our first picture, boys and girls, shows this lady right here in the pretty reddish-orange dress coming to a family's house where the family doesn't have very much money. If you look at the lady's edge of her sleeve here, see how it's kind of raggedy and torn? And the little girl's dress over here, it looks kind of raggedy down at the bottom. This lady does not have very much money at all. She didn't have enough money to buy new clothes for her family. She probably, from the picture, looks like she didn't have enough money to get much food for them either. Because here is Dorcas bringing a big pot of maybe some soup or a stew. The steam is coming out. I bet it smells good and I bet it tastes good. Little brother is putting on a new yellow coat. Oh, that will keep him warm when the days get chilly. And over here, big sister, the one that had the raggedy dress, she now has a new red dress to wear. How pretty. Oh, how wonderful. How happy this mommy is. Look at her. I bet she's telling Dorcas, thank you, Dorcas. I didn't have enough money to feed my family or get them new clothes. Thank you so much for helping us. Look, even the baby, he knows that the food will be good. He's reaching out, but we don't want him to touch it, do we? Because it would be too hot for his little hands. The Bible says that Dorcas went about doing good and helping people who were poor, people who didn't have enough money to take care of themselves and their families. What a wonderful way to be. Let's go to the next pictures now. In this picture, boys and girls, we can see our friend Paul, the one who has written us our Ephesians letter that I read from earlier. He's been traveling. Look, see, he doesn't carry a suitcase like we do. He has everything he needs in a bag that he carries over his shoulder. And his other hand, right up there, is holding on to the bag so he doesn't drop it and spill it. But he has come to the house of a man named Aquila and a lady named Priscila. That's Aquila's wife. Aquila and Priscila. They are tent makers. That means they take great big pieces of cloth and they sew them into tents that people can live in. And as it turns out, our friend Paul, right here, also knows how to make tents. So he's going to do it with them. In fact, they invite Paul to live in their house with them. Wow, that's really taking care of someone. Inviting him to come and live in your house for more than just 1 or 2 nights? That's called hospitality, boys and girls. And it's a very special kind of hospitality where you have someone live with you for a long time. It's a way of taking care of people who don't have any place else to live. So they have done that for Paul. And let's watch them at work. Here they are. Here is Aquila with a needle in his hand, and he is sewing the heavy cloth. It's very heavy cloth. It's not easy to sew. And here is Priscila. Looks like maybe she's found a little tear and she's fixing that over there. And here's our friend Paul. He's taken off his green outside coat. And now I can't see his hand down here, but you can tell by the cloth he is helping to stretch that cloth out so that they can see better for where they're sewing. So they are working together. Then Paul leaves them after a while. He goes to another place to tell people about Jesus. And here we have a picture of Priscila, right here, and Aquila in the temple church. And they are listening to a man named Apollos. Apollos knows some things about God, and he's telling them. But partway through, Priscila looks at her husband and says, he needs to know more about Jesus. We could teach him. Let's bring him to our house and do a Bible study with him. So they do. They bring Apollos to their house. They teach him more about Jesus than he knew. And now, when Apollos goes into the temple churches to talk to people, he has lots of things to say about Jesus because they took the time to teach him. They did a Bible study. A Bible study is where you read and talk about and study the Bible. And if you do it with someone who knows more than you do about it, you learn lots and lots of things. Just like I hope that you are learning lots and lots of things from these shows that I make for you. But anyway, that was another kind of hospitality, to bring Apollos into their house to do a Bible study with them. Now let's look at some modern day people from our church. And this time, they might even be people that you know or that you have seen at church back when we could go to church. Let's look at the next set of pictures. Here are some pictures, boys and girls, of 3 people in our church. Let's look at them close up. Let's start with the lady over here. This is Mrs. Henry. And I know some children in our church that don't call her Mrs. Henry. They call her Grandma. Well, Mrs. Henry, or Mrs. Grace, some of you might call her Mrs. Grace, she loves to take care of people just like Dorcas did. She, I know, has given money to people when they have needed some money. She has made food, sometimes for just one person or one family, or sometimes a big party of like 50 or even 100 people. Wow, that's a lot of people to cook for. But Mrs. Henry knows how to do that. She is a very good cook, and she knows how to do that. I know that she has driven people different places if they had to go maybe to the doctor's or to a friend's house and they didn't have a car. She has driven them places. I know that she has prayed with people. I know that she has taken care of people. She is a lady who loves to take care of other people because she loves them. And she loves them because she loves Jesus. Mrs. Henry knows how to serve. Let's look at this couple. Ooh, here we are. This is Mr. and Mrs. Marshall. Mrs. Marshall, you might know, is the lady who sometimes plays the guitar for the big boys and girls Sunday school classes. And Mr. Marshall, you might have seen walking around making sure that the building is clean and that the doors are open or locked, whatever they need to be. And you might have even ridden in Mr. Marshall's car because he has been someone who after church would very often drive people down to the other parking lot so they could get in their car and go home. I know that these people have given their money. Mrs. Marshall, like Mrs. Henry, loves to cook food, is a very good cook. Her food is very yummy. And she also can cook for one person or one family or a whole party of 50 or 100 or more people. Wow, another group of lots of people to feed. But she knows how to do it. This couple knows how to serve. They love Jesus and they do things for other people because they love them, because Jesus loves them, just like Mrs. Henry. It works the same way. And both of these, Mrs. Henry and her husband, Mr. Henry, I don't have his picture here, and Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, both of them have opened up their home and had people come and live in their house for more than just a couple of nights, just like Priscila and Aquila invited Paul to live with them for a while. The Henrys and the Marshalls have invited people to live with them for a while. That's really loving other people, boys and girls. It's a very special kind of hospitality. Now, there are lots more people in our church besides the Henrys and the Marshalls. Lots more people who do these kinds of things. But these are some that I thought you might know or maybe have seen around the church before. And I know some of us haven't been there very often lately because of all these bad sick germs going around. But when you do, go back. If you see them, when it's safe for us to go back, if you see the Marshalls, or if you see Mrs. Henry and Mr. Henry, you tell them, thank you. Thank you for loving other people because you love Jesus. You are showing us how to serve. Well, boys and girls, I hope you liked those Bible stories, and I hope you liked the pictures of our friends at our church who help to take good care of the rest of us. I hope it helps you to remember that there are things that can be done for other people that don't cost a lot of money and don't always take a lot of time, but they mean so much when someone gives you something just to say, I love you, or when someone does something for you just to say, I care about you, you are important to me. That's what it means to be a good server. And next week, we're going to learn a verse in our song, our Ephesians song, I'm adopted into God's family. It will have an extra verse, a third verse for it, some new words to learn. And serve will be one of the words in that song. But now let's go over and look at our Bible words again. We're going to review today. Review means to look at again. And in this case, it also means to say again, because we're going to say all three of the sets of Bible words that we've been learning from Ephesians. Do you think you can remember them? Come with me to the verse cards and we'll try them and see. Here is our display, boys and girls. 3 cards with 3 sets of words, and I have Paul's scroll letter to the Ephesians there to remind us that all the Bible words we're learning in these lessons now are from the letter he wrote to that little church in Ephesus. Let's move to the first set, and I'll say them and then we'll say them together. See if you remember this. In love, he chose us to be adopted as his children through Jesus. Ephesians 1:5. Do you remember that? Can you say it with me line by line? In love, he chose us to be adopted as his children through Jesus. Ephesians 1:5. Do you think you can say the whole thing with me? Here we go. In love, he chose us to be adopted as his children through Jesus. Ephesians 1:5. Oh, good. We haven't done that one in a while. And you remembered that? Very good. Here's the second one. Let's try this one. This is the one about God making us alive together in Christ. Remember? Because we had all those, our dirty sin spots, all the naughty things, the wrong things that we've done, and we were dead on the inside. Here are the words that changed that. But God made us alive together with Christ. Ephesians 2:4-5. Do you remember that one? Let's try it together, line by line. But God made us alive together with Christ. Ephesians 2:4-5. Do you think you can say this one with me all the way through? Let's try it together. But God made us alive together with Christ. Ephesians 2:4-5. Oh, very good. Again, boys and girls. We haven't done that one in a while either. And now, here's the new one that we've been working on, the newest one, I should say. It's not brand new because we've been doing it for a couple of weeks. I'll read it line by line and then we'll do it together line by line. In him, you also are being built together. Ephesians 2:22. Okay, let's try it all together. Ready? In him, you also are being built together. Ephesians 2:22. Oh, very good, boys and girls. Very good. Let's back up and see that whole display again. And here's our scroll letter right there with a little black tie on it to remind us that these are words that Paul wrote to us and to anyone else who wants to read the letter to the Ephesians, the letter to that little church in Ephesus. Now let's go to our song. If we're God's church, we are sinners saved by grace. If we're God's church, we are people, not a place. If we're God's church, we are loved by God. Let's show the world we are His family. Jesus died to take away our sin. He rose again and He wants to be our friend. He makes us wise so we can live for Him. We're adopted into His family. All right, now let's bring the camera closer so you can watch my mouth. If we're God's church, we are sinners saved by grace. If we're God's church, we are people, not a place. If we're God's church, we are loved by God. Let's show the world we are His family. Jesus died to take away our sin. He rose again and He wants to be our friend. He makes us wise so we can live for Him. We're adopted into His family. Let's add in the clapping on this one. If we're God's church, we are sinners saved by grace. If we're God's church, we are people, not a place. If we're God's church, we are loved by God. Let's show the world we are His family. Jesus died to take away our sin. He rose again and He wants to be our friend. He makes us wise so we can live for Him. We're adopted into His family. I hope you remember this song, boys and girls, and everything else that we've learned this week. Until next time, bye-bye.